That's right, turn that shit up, man.
Marsaw, Ottochian, Bayliss. Draft Mob starts now.
Discipline, passion, determination, perseverance. Those things in a player are going to be critical. Once we identify those players that fit our culture, we're going to label them with a bear on their tag, and they're going to stand out like a sore thumb because those are the type of players we want to set the foundation here.
You sure about that? I'll make him an offer he can't refuse. Forget about it.
It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob. We on the job. Blog boys show respect to this thing of ours. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob. We on the job. Blog boys show respect to this thing of ours. Yeah, it's DDP and the smartest man with the draft analysis for the Bears fans. And Bellissimo mobbed up like Peaky Blinders. The tape never lies, draft prospect finders. Draft analyze this, draft analyze that. We got a left tackle and a quarterback. It's post trade and all the fans are waiting. It's the off season, that's the only reason. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob. We on the job, blog boys show respect to this thing of ours. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob. We on the job, blog boys show respect to this thing of ours. Chicago Bears, old mafioso. We need some earners, wide receiver burners. Pose better find them players, mentors, cause we need more offensive scores. Our rivals all swimming with the fishes on the lake shore. You seen it before. Can Ryan pose, build through the draft. Eberflus bringing hits with the defensive craft. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob, the draft mob. It's the draft mob. We on the job. Block boys show respect to this thing of ours. Yeah.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Then let me do what I hired to do.
This game of football is determined by determination, pride, and the love of the game.
The Tape Never Lies Network.
Hey, it's draft season. And George, guess what? What are we we're not even excited about the draft yet so much, but we're excited. Yeah. This is a DDP free show, so we get to talk.
It's crazy. I don't know what I'm going to do with my hands, Shane. I don't know what I'm going to do with my hands.
No, man.
I guess we can get the tape. I mean, we're so lucky today, and guys. I mean, this dude is. You talk about a perfect fit for what the Bears want to do up front in terms of mentality and play on the field, and this guy fits what we're looking to move towards. And he's even quoted one of our guys saying something, hasn't he, in terms of the Bears?
Absolutely.
Unbeknownst to him.
Yeah, and we're gonna share that in a little bit when we get him on here. But yeah, this is officially kicking off our 2022 NFL draft season. George, it was a great year for us, at TTNL last year with all of our coverage. We I think I'm not even speaking out of line here. I think we covered it better than anybody out there. We went live every single week or every single night, the night of the draft and the day on Saturday. And the coverage was unlike any other out there. 33 hours of content over those days that we continued to pump out there. And our next guest is going to be a guy that we cover extensively as our Chicago Bears venture into actually bringing in some guys on the O-line that actually give a shit, and that's exactly what this guy does.
Exactly, and it plays with the nastiness and the mentality of sort of finishing every single play with somebody on their back, and preferably not him or his quarterback. But I mean, talking about last year's content, Shane, I mean, I don't know anyone else that nailed prospects at positions in the way that Draft Mob did. I mean, I know, not everyone's all about sort of bigging themselves up and talking about what they are and what they do, but the tape never lies is what the network is called, and the tape never lies. If you want to go back and look at the players that we featured and we looked at the tape of, and we broke down pre-draft and post-draft as well, in terms of what we thought they were going to do is what we saw on the field. And I don't think that's going to be any different with who we're starting off with. So, I mean, do you want to start the introduction, or shall I go?
Absolutely, man. I don't want to piss this dude off. I've been watching his tape.
No, we need to get him on. What you don't want to do is get on the wrong side of this dude. So, welcome today, Cole Strange, left guard, left tackle, centre player extraordinaire, graduate in psychology from the University of Tennessee-Chattanooga, a 5-year starter on the offensive line for the Mocs, and All-American third team, All-American first team 2021, Water Camp and Hero Sports with Phil Steele, All-American. Jacobs Blocking Award in 21, and I'm just reading this off his bio. 3-time All Southern Conference, 4-time All Academic. So he's a smart guy as well. 49 games total, 44 starts. So you're talking again. Bill Parcells talked about drafting players that have got experience and being able to play, and this guy is no different. And protege of, I believe, and Cole can correct me if I'm wrong, former Bear. Let's not mention the Packers, Josh Sitton. So with that, we're going to welcome him to the show. Cole, we're very pleased to have you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are y'all doing?
Good. It's nice to see you repping the C on your chest there. So maybe going to get a different C, a captain's one. And the way that the Bears handed them out last week, it was a participation trophy. But how are you today? And how's the process gone for you so far?
It's going well. Right now, I'm down here in Pensacola training, and then I'll leave for the combine Tuesday, actually. So it's going well. Thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate it.
Cole, where is your thought process along with that, just heading into the combine? You've 6 years, college football, that whole thing. I mean, you got to be chomping at the bit. I don't want to say it's rare, because you do see, those guys with that extra year of eligibility taking advantage of that. But going into this combine, where is your mental state? Is it all about nerves, or are you just going there, with a mindset to dominate?
I think more so just, like you said there at the end, trying to dominate. Our coach was talking to us about this yesterday. We had a workout yesterday morning, and he was kind of telling us that for the combine, it's not necessarily a competition. It's more so of a showcase.
Sure.
The scouts, the coaches, anyone involved with the team who's looking at you already likes you. And a bunch of the stuff. Yeah. Sorry, on my phone, it started sliding. A bunch of the stuff that we do here is kind of just to check the box. It'd be incredible if I was able to set some sort of record on, the bench or the 40, but, he told me that a lot of the time stuff like that doesn't necessarily get you drafted higher. It's more so of checking the box. But having said that, I am coming in with a mindset to try and do as good as I can on every single one of the workouts, interviews, everything involved.
Well, I mean, in terms of guessing as to how you're going to perform at the combine, and I'm not going to get you to sort of put any numbers that you want to reach or anything like that, but what the tape shows me is that your lateral agility is good. I expect you to test well there. Your speed downfield, for a team that wants a zone player, a zone offensive lineman, you fit that perfectly, because your speed downfield as a bigger guy, 6'6", 300 plus pounds north of that. He's very good. I expect you to test extremely well by comparison to your peers in the 40. The amount of times an offensive lineman gets to run 40 yards are few and far between. It's that sort of 5 to 10. That's the crucial bit, and that's usually where you're snotting someone, putting them on their back, and giving them a bit of a growl and a pinch and a bite maybe when they're not biting. We'll leave that to the Lions. The Lions like to do the biting, but. What we do like to see, I mean, that's what I'm expecting to see. With longer arms, bench press it's not all of that. So what they want to see is sort of functional strength and your ability to sort of do the drill, and I guess under control, which if there is a criticism of your game, I mean, what would you say that the criticism you've had mentioned, or questions, should I say, as to what you think you can do better? What have you heard from teams so far in terms of what they've seen, what they've asked you?
So the positives is that the stuff that I have heard is all stuff that can be corrected, and that's what they, along with whatever it is that they have to tell me. And every time I met with a scout or anyone, I'd always ask them the same thing: is if they'd watched my film, what is it they think I need to work on? And most of them would say something to the effect of, I need to be more consistent, and whenever I'm getting locked in on a block, not popping up and making sure I just stay more disciplined and staying low consistently. And that's time they normally follow that up with. But, the good thing about that is that can be fixed. It's not like, your problem is off the field issues or, something that, you can't do nothing about.
Cole, speaking to that, we've been involved with this draft process just as a network for a couple of years now, but even beyond that for, way over a decade in terms of the actual process. And when we sit down with guys and interview them, we like to get into the mindset of what they're doing. And to a man, mostly everybody comes out and says, I'm the best offensive lineman in this draft, or I'm the best wide receiver. And that's not a negative at all. I mean, I prefer that mindset, but I just want to play off of George's point. You were asking the coaches or the scouts what you need to work on.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you beyond that, what do you feel like is the weakest part of your game moving forward that may give you a bit of a concern moving on to the next level?
I think I would kind of agree with what the scouts have told me.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I'm sure every other offensive lineman in the draft and even in the league can agree to this, I feel like I can always get better as far as technique regarding pass blocking. That's such a technical part of the game. That run blocking, I feel like, is technical, but a lot of that is kind of heart, and it's like, yeah, exactly.
A lot of it's mentality.
Yeah. Want.
Pissed off, exactly. Pass blocking is very technical. There's a mental aspect of it for sure. And like you were talking about, actually, I was working with Coach Josh, and we'd do a bunch of like the combine drills and just regular O-line drills, but we'd also just line up, half line. We didn't have enough for a full line, just center, guard, tackle, and work sorts, and just like do it in a walk-through tempo. And it's like that was almost one of the toughest things we did. It was like we weren't, colliding into each other, trying to pancake. We're just like mentally, okay, I have him. You got to have your eyes on 4 different guys at once. And so, long answer short, I think I agree with what the scouts say, but I'm coming in with the mindset of there's nothing that I can't improve. Every aspect of my game, I feel like I'm going to get better, and it needs to get better, for the next level.
One of the questions that I've heard in the pre-draft process, sort of getting away from the actual tape on the field. This is the tape off the field so far, which people can go and look at your Twitter. And I love the fact that you're sort of, you're retweeting, you're sharing all the stuff that you've done so far. And one of the answers that you gave on the 49ers podcast that you got was of interest. Shane, I don't know if you want to sort of show that clip, and we're going to credit them here, but we're just going to play this.
Okay. Locker room, like culture. I was watching something the other day, and I genuinely can't remember what team it was. To tell you the truth, I've actually never been a huge, I've never had a specific NFL team. I always followed college football, so I'm not really partial to any team. But I was watching this post on Twitter, and I can't remember what team it was, but the offensive lineman, he got beat like 2 or 3 plays in a row, and his quarterback was getting hammered, and he wouldn't go in to help him up. And this guy was talking about how that's just a losing mentality, dude, that's a culture thing, your quarterback, your running back, your wide receiver, anyone's tackled, you go help them up. And I don't know, I'm not trying to call anybody out. I don't know that guy from Adam, but I just think that whenever I come on a team, the culture of, hard work, toughness, grit, getting after it, getting it done, never quitting, I'm going to bring that. And if that's already the culture, I'm only going to add to that. There's not going to be any cancerous, negativity coming, none of that. And there's not going to be any mistakes or, any dumb stuff that would happen off the field. I'm going to be squared away, and I'm going to bring everything I can to help whatever team that is that I get on.
That sort of what you're talking about there is actually the Bears' new general manager that you're quoting.
Yeah, and I'll call a dude out, Cole, for you, because this is what we do on TTNL. We're all about accountability.
Yes, sir.
The offensive lineman's name is Jermaine Ifedi, and obviously, as you said yourself, you're a college football fan, so you're very aware of who Justin Fields is, or just even any quarterback in the NFL. But it's been an overriding problem in Chicago with offensive linemen getting beat, quarterback gets killed, and then the first thing that they do is to walk back to get ready for the huddle.
Yeah.
While the quarterback's picking himself up off the ground.
That's the most bizarre thing to me.
It's sickening. I mean, as a network that's based on tape and tape study, we would sit here just watching it live was hard to stomach. I have a 11-year-old son, and I mean that I used every one of those as a teaching moment immediately. I'm like, no, that's not how this works at all. It's embarrassing at a professional level that you would have 8 or 9 year pro out there. And I mean, actually, the way that it unfolded, Tevin Jenkins went over and got in a little scuffle after it happened.
Rookie, yeah.
And Jermaine Ifedi even took offense to that and ripped Jenkins away from there from trying to set the tone. So it was a whole mess. But
man,
it was totally random that you bring that up and are essentially quoting our new GM Ryan Poles, who was a former offensive lineman. Yeah, from BC. Yeah. Our assistant GM is a former offensive lineman, Ian Cunningham. So we're going to have to promote the hell out of that clip, Cole, so maybe we can see some Cole Strange here in Chicago.
Rewatching it, I realized how many times I said "like." I wasn't sure of that. I had a similar experience whenever I was younger. I was a freshman at UTC, and I'm sure some of the people's perspective was that I just kind of got into it and scrapped more so than I should have. When I felt like half the time that might have been the case, I'll give it to them. But some of the times, like, it was instigated by someone else, and I was just sort of standing up for myself. And my offensive linemen, my older guys, never had my back and were always of the vein of, quit doing that, quit causing problems. And
let me tell you what, Cole, that is one of the most underrated attributes that will get noticed by an NFL scout, that will stand out to them. They're going to be like,
it's an intangible.
Look at this kid over there doing exactly what he's supposed to do. And that goes way beyond running the 40. That goes way beyond your bench press. That speaks about the man at his core, and that 100% matters in this process. So a tip of the hat to you, man, and please do not lose that mentality, because even if you don't end up in Chicago, that's going to pay huge dividends for you moving forward.
And your quarterback is certainly going to appreciate you having their back, and the same as your running backs and getting downfield after plays. I mean, one of the things, without getting too effusive and making your head grow or making your cheeks blush a little bit, Cole, is one of the things that I love about your tape and your mentality, and it shows through in the field, is, look, as an offensive lineman, former offensive guard and tackle myself, when I played, not everything is going to be blocked up perfect. Not everyone's going to do what you think they're going to do. Your technique is not going to be 100% of the time. You're going to make errors. But what I love about the way that you play the game is you might not hit the guy that was the intended target, but you'll go and find somebody. You'll go and find work. And not only that, but you'll do it with a mentality and a nastiness, a pride that, I messed up that time, but you're going to learn from it. And there's evidence of that on your tape throughout, where, you've been caught off guard by maybe a technique you haven't seen before. Next time, your next rep, you got an answer for it. You talked about the Senior Bowl when you're playing centre, and sort of Coach Sitton doesn't like to show a flash hand to speed guys, Perry and Winfrey, who is a speed guy. You're going to have Aaron Donalds lining up against you one week. You're going to have Vita Vea lining up against you the next week. You can't have the same answer to every question.
Right.
You've got, and that's where the tape study and sort of, as someone, talking to someone who knows a bit about psychology, that's getting in the head of what you're seeing on tape and understanding what you're going to see, anticipation of that, and having an answer or a list of answers, a tool set you can go to. I see that on your tape. And it's one of the things that really encourages me about you as a player as a whole, from a mentality point of view, but also the fact that mechanically that you're then coming back and you're finding an answer. That for me is crucial. I mean, I don't know if you want to sort of speak about the experience of being an offensive lineman, when you've been caught out, what you've done to answer it, and what you take going forward from that as an answer for you going forward to learn.
Yes, sir. Did you ask when I've been called out as an offensive lineman?
No, sort of more a case of when you're sort of you might have a moment of doubt. You haven't done something the way you wanted it to go. You haven't, the technique hasn't been right. What you've learned and how you've learned it, and what you take going forward from that.
So I think that I think there is definitely a mental aspect to it. I feel like a lot of the times, especially with those pass rush one-on-ones, it's almost like a game within a game.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird line that you have to toe of you don't want to change everything about you because of who you're going against. You want to block using the technique that you've learned, and you want to fall back on your training and whatever it is that you've done. But at the same time, like you just said, if you're going against two completely different people, you have to cater what you're doing to them. And I don't know. I guess a bunch of it's kind of hard to analyze because I feel like it just happens like that.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff, for example, that you're talking about in the Senior Bowl, I know there. I can't really remember specifically which ones you're talking about, but from what I remember, there was this one fellow that I was going against. I think he was from UCLA, and I had the very first time that we went against each other, he had bull rushed me, and that's the only time he had the whole week. And I think that it's not something that I was thinking in my head, like, okay, he bull rushed, and so this is, he set it up. But I just noticed he didn't do it again to anybody else or me whenever he went again. And I think he just kind of did that to establish he can bull rush. But it seemed like he would have preferred, if he could have, to swap your hands or get around or do something more, using his speed in his hands as opposed to having to bull rush. So he didn't do that other time. The very first rep he did, and that was against me. And so I kind of noticed that. And so I didn't really worry about, if you flash hand against a bull, you're going to get beat. So I went into it thinking, I don't think he's going to bull me. I think he thinks I'm going to, kind of jump set him because I had done that a bunch. So I had established myself as someone who's probably going to jump, might even lean a little bit too much. I got beat one time doing that. And so I thought, this is what he's thinking. And I snapped the ball. It's funny because Coach Josh actually told me he didn't like the flash hand at center. But for this particular rep, it did kind of work out for me. But future reference, I probably won't do that. But, I snapped it and gave a flash hand, and he double hand swapped it and opened his chest up perfectly,
Yeah.
And so I guess it's kind of tough to, I don't know what the word would be, explain it or rationalize it, because a lot of it just happens like, you don't even really think about it. It's kind of just something that, you get a feeling of something that's going to happen, and you say, okay, I'm going to try this. And if it works out, then it's okay. You had the right feeling. And if it doesn't, then that's whenever the certain circumstances you go and help your quarterback up.
It's called having good instincts and kind of feel out the situation.
Yes, sir.
If we can get into a little bit of tape with you, if that's all right, I don't know if you want to pull that up, Shane. I will add it to the stream. I'm just gonna sort of run through a few bits. I mean, I'm sure everyone's talking about this game. I'm sure you recognise who the opponents are straight away. For those who don't know, Cole is here, left guard, and you're going to see the motion coming across here, and they sort of reset the linebackers. So Cole's got his head up, which is again something I love. He's able to see the mic sliding and sort of coming across. So in terms of knowing in a zone set where you're going to go to, comes off the line, and obviously he's got a double working with the centre, and then onto linebacker is the plan. And the double comes across, and the linebacker comes up to fill the hole with good discipline. I love that you're sort of able to then reset that hip flexibility and core strength to reset, turn, and get a shoulder into him. And it's a little bit catchy, a little bit grabby. You might get called, in the NFL. You might get called for a hold if he turns away from you. But the ability to turn, and your head is actually on the swivel, ready for him to catch him in the hole. And that's going to be a cutback opportunity for some backs. They're not necessarily going to press, the A and B gap this side. They're going to see an opportunity to cut back because the linebackers come up to fill. You've got him, and that's where they're going to come through. So again, it's about sort of in terms of finish as well. You've got on him, and then it's all about driving him because again, you don't know whether your halfback is going to sort of bounce it, break a tackle, and having that position and sort of staying after the guy. That's something that I love to see. I mean, I don't know about your thoughts about what you see when you're looking at this particular snap. So I don't like to drop the head there personally, but I understand you're generating contact into the shoulder to get his chest up. So your thoughts on this, Cole? Your rep?
No, I think you kind of laid it out pretty perfectly. I saw him bouncing over, and we were supposed to double team to him, and whenever he came back, it went from me anticipating the center to most likely come off. I figured I would probably have to, unless during the play he came across, but he didn't do that. So, I kind of had it in my mind as I was coming down on him, he's probably going to be my responsibility. And once I saw him coming, I knew I had to get off on him.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you sort of, that's a little bit catchy there, but what you then do is reset your hips. You get your hips back. You've got him up in the air, and then once it's up in the air, it's over really for a linebacker against a guard. You get into his chest, into drive phase. I'd just like to see a bit more arm extension if I'm being critical in terms of you when you're in the drive there. But I love that he's staying in his chest and up until and right after the point where we're getting to the end of the play. So, love that rep.
Yes, sir.
Just going on. We'll just do a couple more because, again, one of the things that the Bears have been talking about is hustle. Mm-hmm. And again, hustle is something that we see, a lot of when we're looking here. If we just get that off the screen so we don't get any copyright dings. So short to go. Obviously, offset sort of pistol kind of look coming across. It looks like it's a middle read really there, reading the end, the unblocked man here.
Yeah.
On the edge. So the QB is reading that obviously for a pull.
Yes.
In terms of what your responsibilities and what you're doing here is, again, moving that nose initially, but then getting onto the backer and clearing out the hole. That is a read for any, seeing a butt cheek there and a butt cheek there. That's kind of where you're giving him the opportunity.
It is.
And it does. It opens up perfectly.
Yeah, it does. It was a perfect play because that stunt they were running. Yeah, especially with him coming first, they kind of put themselves into a predicament with having that backside backer come first and the other one back around him. Maybe if we were passing, it would have worked better. But with us running, he takes himself out of the play, and I was able to get the one who first came. And then this safety back here. You kind of
get a twofer, don't you? You kind of get a twofer there.
I see I wasn't even supposed to block him. I was supposed to block the more play side one, but he came, and so I saw color, and I took it. And then he just ran around him, so it worked out perfectly for us.
Yeah, I love that. And then in terms of like when the ball comes through, again, it's about situational awareness, and you're turning instantly. You're aware that the back is behind you. I love this. You can't. This is either in somebody or it's not. And
yes, sir.
far too many offensive linemen. It's like, running back's gone past me. I'm not going to catch anything now. Well, you don't know. He might have a safety coming up and closing that angle. And if you hustle, which you are, you go down. You're after 29. I could see it in you.
Yes.
Find a smurf to snot. And you got to enjoy that as a lineman because you don't get the chance too often. And if you can get in a smurf's face and destroy him, then that's something. All offensive linemen like to eat meat, and there's nothing better than a safety every now and again that you can get on. We got two plays here, which is the same play essentially. We've got the sideline view, which is here, and we got the sort of the all 22 kind of look. Again, sort of it looks like a pass set from where you are in terms of the 2-point stance. Half back to the left again. It kind of looks like it's going to be sort of read game. A little bit of a low snap from the center doesn't really help that much, but there's that sort of read again. Although the tackle at the end is actually being covered there. In terms of your responsibility, you've got like it's almost like a 4-eye in terms of this guy outside you, but to your shoulder side. So it's like he's inside. In terms of zone blocking, I love that you get into the chest to allow the guy from behind, and this is the zone replace. I like that you get into the chest, left hand on, to allow your tackle to get up behind and into, so you can start looking to get to second level.
Yes, sir.
And the generating the push there on the double, and then you're getting through, and to get on this backer, this will, from where you are there in that traffic, that mess in the middle, that's pure effort. And I love that you get on him again, a little bit sort of either side of him. Try and get your head play side if again being critical, but just to even get on this block is fantastic. What I do like now is your hand to the center of the chest and hand on the hip, almost like you're a tackle and you're washing past in almost like a pass set, but you're in drive phase. Love that there. And again, in terms of at the end of the play, everyone talks about Trevor Penning and his attitude in terms of wanting to kill people and sort of eat them and grind the bones up for a bit of flour afterwards. I love this in you, Cole. You know, I would be ecstatic if the Bears could get some of you on the field, and if, when we look at the other angle, just to sort of to give people the appreciation of the job that you're doing here. So this is a different play.
Okay.
Pass set. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, working the tackle and then your head. If people just pay attention to your head, again, this is really important. What I like here, by the way, is the angles, because in terms of head, your body position is neutral. Having that core, keeping your ass low and your shoulders forward over your knees and toes. Mm-hmm. That's, in terms of pass pro, love that. Resetting your feet, a little bit wide, a little bit 10 to 2 in terms of toes, but to then switch. He's coming.
Yeah.
And to get the hand center of the chest, that placement, I love it because that's going to turn him. Yeah, the halfback's there to help out. You really don't, the halfback's there to cover that. But for you to switch off from there, the double, got him stoned, back is coming.
Yes, sir.
Bam, with impact. Love it. Again, in terms of knowing, are you expecting him to come at this point?
So a bunch of
this play,
we did a bunch of film review on them, and they kind of did this a little bit frequently, and it was kind of just a backer plug. He didn't always get there, but it was just a little bit of pressure added onto the quarterback. And so going into this play, it was, they didn't give many indicators. They weren't, like up on their toes, falling forward or like a couple yards up. They were where they normally lined up, and they just wait like a count of 1,000, and then they go. So it's kind of something I was prepared for. And then, the tackle right here, Harrison, he's coming back on him, and so I know I can come back and get him. And so I just saw him out of my peripheral a little bit and saw him coming, and so I gave him a little bit of.
Again, in terms of it was a run-first offense, really, wasn't it? Pretty much.
100%.
Chattanooga. Yeah. But what I like is, despite that sort of lack of pass sets, you've done this about as well as you can. From a body positioning point of view, I love the body position that you're in. You're keeping your shoulders nice and neutral. Hips towards the man, shoulders towards the line of scrimmage, particularly there where you've reset, and then working, driving from that left foot, driving from the left to get your toe into the ground there. And then driving into man. That's about as good as you can do it. NFL defenses, rather than it being a designed blitz, which it looks like this is like a delay, what you'll sometimes have is what you call a zone match. And they'll be reading the halfback. And if the halfback sits, whoever the responsibility in the match will be, if you're sitting in the backfield, it'll be to come. So it could be from either side. And the other guy will drop out, tight end side or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is something you're going to see in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
But it might not be so predicated on it just being a blitz.
Yeah.
So I love your answer on that, and I love what you're putting on tape. And then we get to see you in the Senior Bowl, and you moved over to center. And not only you moved over to center, another guy I like in the draft, Zion Johnson, who had a good week. You're starting over him in terms of first guy on the field. So again, in terms of watching what you got here. LSU defensive
real quick,
end.
George, before you start playing this, I just want to play off of that with you. When did they first let you know, Cole, that they wanted you to take some snaps at center? Is it something? We know Jim Nagy here, and I know obviously with his connection to the NFL, a lot of times they give guys
teams will give
notice,
them a clue.
and then sometimes it's you show up and hey, you're taking snaps at center. So how did that unfold for you?
It was kind of more so like a little bit last minute. I had some depth chart, and I was also going to say I love that you had mentioned me starting first. I will say, just for disclaimer, the O-line coach, whenever he had us in first team, second team, third team, he did say himself it wasn't a depth chart per se, as in these guys are better. But I'll take it. But I saw some sort of depth chart a couple weeks before I went to the Senior Bowl on Twitter, and it had me playing right guard. And I normally played left, but I was like, okay, I'll play right guard. And then whenever I got there, that's whenever they had me at center. Zion was also at center, and the other fella, I think he was a dude from Central Michigan. He hurt his hamstring on the first day in Indy. So me and Zion were just the only ones playing center the whole week, just rotating back and forth. But
what was your initial reaction when they said that?
Oh, hell yeah.
Let's do it.
I was
perfect.
Ready.
I was hoping that was going to be the case.
Absolutely. No,
well, this was before the game, and I'm sure that you're familiar with this clip.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of we'll show our patrons here again, sort of flashing the hand. It's a hand in the chest to see where he's sitting, and I like that. You're not coming necessarily with both to get in the chest because you're in pass pro, so you're not like you're in a drive set. So what I do like again in terms of the foot placement is not wasted movement, but movement with a purpose. So your left foot sort of, because obviously he's a 1, isn't he? He's a 1. So left foot almost like zone step towards him, gather with your right foot and push off. Hand into the chest. Okay, he's coming across the face. Right hand into the chest. Reset your right foot. Your hips are still neutral. Your body position is still good. You've shocked him with that left arm. Got that pad up. You see the 2 is lopsided. Yes, 92. We've got his pad up. Love that. And then in terms of getting into the body now and working and starting to get a bit of work. Okay, he's going to come back with a spin move. Okay, you've reset your feet again. Waiting for him.
Yes, sir.
Love it. Hands back into him. Now he's spun. He's got his hand under your chin a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've got a good grab on him. It's an excellent pass set.
You look just like your buddy there next to him is doing the Jermaine Ifedi Ole move. They're letting him get
his Iron Johnson.
Yeah.
I didn't touch him, coach.
Cole, in terms of playing surface, do you have a preference that a lot of guys do in terms of a playing surface? Natural grass, artificial surface. It's always been an issue in Chicago.
Yeah.
Natural surface there hasn't been the best footing. Only in Chicago they're historically back to the Lovie Smith days, a team that has built their roster based on speed, but they make them play on a cow pasture. So never made too much sense. But in terms of a playing surface, what is your preference?
I think I've gotten so used to turf.
Yeah.
Chattanooga played with turf. Everyone in our conference played with turf except BMI. And I grew up playing on grass. I liked grass as much as anything. But it always seemed to rain at VMI. So, it kind of felt like a bit of a cow pasture there too. But I can't help but think that if you're always playing in a cow pasture, you kind of
get used to it. Yeah.
Everything's up. Yeah, everything's better from there, isn't it?
Exactly.
Do you notice your recovery time after games being more on the non-natural surface? Because we've talked to different guys that just said, no, there's an absolute difference. And it seemingly more guys in the NFL that we've talked to that have already been there. They're like, no. You give me a natural playing surface. But have you noticed a recovery difference in post game in terms of playing on an artificial surface?
I don't know if I have, but I think that's probably just because I haven't paid too much attention to it.
Yeah.
The only team we did play was VMI, and they had grass, but I guess I didn't really notice. Never really thought of that.
Okay.
Sorry, go on, Cole.
Sorry, are there other teams in the NFL that have grass fields? Is it just?
No, you did. Yeah, there is. There's a lot of them that have grass fields. I mean, even Green Bay has a hybrid field that's got
it's woven turf.
Yeah, a mixture of both. But Pittsburgh has natural surface. Philly,
Chicago has painted grass.
Yeah, but I think you're going to see that changing in Chicago because they're going to be getting a new stadium here in the next handful of years. So it's going to be probably a retractable roof with a non-natural playing surface. But yeah, just something to keep in mind because that's something that we bring up with people quite often. And your knees and ankles and back are very important, as I'm sure you know.
That's awesome to hear. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So in terms of this, is Travis Jones that you're up against here out of Connecticut. He's a big boy. I don't know if you want to talk through this rep again in terms of what you're thinking on that double. I mean, obviously a 1. Luckily, he's not to your snap hand because obviously it's a little bit more difficult when you got a 1 on your snap hand. But working the double here with your guard. Yeah, when he does a good job getting his shoulder pads back, but I love the fact that you're working your feet here. So if you want to talk us through this and what it's like to have a big old boy like Travis Jones and then put him on the deck.
Yeah.
And then give him a bit of afters.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually work out. Travis works out here in Pensacola. I like him. He's cool. But we were I'm trying to remember the name of the play. It was inside zone to the left is what it was. And after my guard left, I kind of felt like he was falling back a little bit towards my right side. You know, like he had his like body momentum kind of leaning towards that side. And, you know, I just felt it. And as soon as you said you play offensive line, so I'm sure you know this as much. Yeah. Anyone like there's this moment in time where it's kind of like everything freezes and you can tell.
Tipping point.
You can tell like when you have them under control. You know, and that's if you're like pancaking them on their back, if you're torquing them, whatever the case is. And I felt them kind of leaning. So I had that torque and I just went with it.
Cole, real quick, if you turn your phone to the landscape mode, it might be a little bit easier for you to see the video. Man. It'll show up a little bit bigger.
That's way better. I appreciate that. I should have
should have told you. Should have said that to you earlier. I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. So into the actual game, obviously game scenario. I mean, the scouts have left at this point, but I actually think this is a better show of what you can do as a player than it is in just the one-on-one reps. I mean, the pass pro reps where you're going one-on-one, they've got a two-way go. They don't have to respect a snap count. It's set up for the defensive guys to win.
They know it's a pass.
Exactly. But when you get to game situation, you've got an LSU defensive tackle who started, and you got Perry and Winfrey, I think that is. Yep. Might be Fedarian Mathis. And again, in terms of switching, so I don't know if you want to talk through this, but I mean, I'll tell you what I see. But that left hand onto the pad.
Yep, we had a 4-man slide because that fella from LSU, he was a bit of a kind of a 2I or G, and so we're breaking that guard with him, and so then he's locked on him, and once I give that hand to the guard, basically, just there's no one directly in my gap, so I can give a little bit of a presence in that backside, and then once I think the Winfrey fella, he was on our team. So this has to be somebody else, but
I think it might be Fedarian Mathis. I think it is from Bama.
Yeah, he was. He's a 3 technique right there lined up, and I have my eyes on him. And as soon as he tries to make that move inside, I just come off and get him.
Yeah, and get him you do. I mean, again, this is the attitude that we need to see more on the Bears. I mean, guards usually get to do this. It's not something that centers usually get the luxury of being able to turn and go. Yeah. So a guard you usually, and you can sort of see the guard in you in the centre play, which again is not a bad thing. But to turn and then to give him, let him know you're there, and to completely flatten him and end up on top, I love that.
I loved it too.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you got to have some fun, haven't you, when you're an offensive lineman? Because at the end of the day, you're doing a lot of not particularly glorious work, and people don't necessarily know your name and buy your shirts and all the rest of it. But when you get to have your tape and you're with the boys afterwards and you're looking through reps and have a bit of fun with it. Again, in terms of shotgun snap, you had to my count, you had, and this is a difficult ask of any centre blocking a 3 from a centre. With that sort of with that trap.
Yes, sir.
This is a tough ask to get the snap on target with that as well. Mm-hmm. Is a tough ask for someone who's played 2 games in college at centre.
Yes, sir.
2 games in college at centre. So to ask you to do that and then go block a 3 tech, on that trap, that inside trap, is a tough ask, and you do it, particularly well. I noticed you had 1 bad snap, as in shotgun, and you had 1 fumbled exchange. What did you learn from those?
So the fumbled exchange.
You pull his hands away.
As soon as it happened, I was immediately like, "Holy shit, what did I do?" And he's like, immediately was like, "That's on me." I always give credit. I always take blame if it is mine. But as soon as that happened, he's like, "Sorry, man, that was on me." The one that was the shotgun, I didn't even know it was a bad snap. He didn't tell me anything. I normally don't. After the play is like, "Hey, man, how's my snap?" Because I feel like if you don't think about it, it goes a lot better. But I probably ask him when we come off if the snaps are okay. And since it was one that was, I think it was high, is what I was told.
Yeah, it was a little bit high, a little bit left, which normally normally as you're pulling it, you're trying to get that right hand up quick, and that's when you have it. Well, this is when talking to someone who's has had to snap the ball in emergency situations. If you're going to go high and left, it's usually because you're trying to get your right hand back up, and it's just one of those things where you have to stay neutral on the snap and then worry about your hand. But again, to get critical on your snapping with one rep out of an entire game that you played most of the series, every other series, wasn't it? Pretty much.
Yes, sir.
I mean, to locate that and get to a 3, I'm not worried about your snapping. That's what that rep tells me.
Yes,
to snap, get to a 3 from there on a trap. There's no problem with your snapping. It's just a one-off rather than an actual thing. So I mean, again, encouraging to sort of see, and you're not having it all your own way in the game, but I think you covered yourself very well at the Senior Bowl, both as a centre and your tape in the game. So that's the tape done. Just a few more questions, and if anyone in chat wants to ask you some questions, but one of the things I wanted to ask you, Cole, if it's okay, is if I asked you what the hardest thing about football is. So that I want you to say one thing that's the toughest, motivation-wise, for yourself to have to get up and do. What's the toughest thing in football?
Okay, you mean like the toughest thing to get up and do, not necessarily the toughest or the worst part in general.
Yeah, in terms of self-motivation. Okay, yeah, I've got, this is something I've got to do. I've got to get up and do it. It's not the glorious part. It's not the bit that people are going to see. It's the thing that you have to motivate yourself for. What's that toughest thing for you?
I'll be honest. I don't really feel like there's too much I feel like I need to motivate myself for regarding football. You know what I mean? I think it'd be false to say that maybe the duration of it, and I know even more so at the next level because they play the 17 games now, right?
Yeah. Well, unless you're going to go to Super Bowl, which hopefully.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Even more. But I think that how long the season goes for, I don't know. To be honest with you, I never really felt like it was that big of a deal. We practice in the mornings, getting up. You get into the habit of getting up, and when you go to practice, I hated putting my knee braces on. Maybe that was the worst part of it. But once I had my equipment and I was walking down to the field, like I was locked in, and I was thinking to myself, what is it I messed up on yesterday? What is it I messed up on the game this past weekend? And how do I get better?
Cole, sorry to butt in there, but you talked about getting up in the morning and getting into that routine, but I'm always interested in this process. If I were to ask you what your routine in terms of diet every day 2 years ago was as compared to what it is right now, tell me the difference.
It'd be a lot different. So I would say 2 years ago, and even all the way up until as recent as maybe before December, which is whenever I came down here and started working out and taught me that I need to start eating correctly. I didn't
kind of important.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily eat terrible, as in, pizzas and beer every single night. But I don't think it was great, not compared to what it is now, at least. I live with my brother, and we would normally, we would meal plan and we would go and get groceries and cook each night. Sometimes he would do most of the cooking, but we would have, meat, potatoes, some sort of vegetable. And as we went along, this past season, there was a little bit more emphasis on doing a better job of trying to eat healthy. But, we'd still have pizza. We'd still have wings. We'd still have burgers. I normally don't drink any kind of beer during the season, but I'll have like a beer with dinner every now and then. Whereas now I eat – they've taught us there's something called the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. So that's 80% of, of 100% of your meals, 20% can be, cheat meals.
Yep.
And they have one cheat night, one cheat dinner per week, and that's on Wednesday. And I normally wait till the weekend because that means I have to cook. So I'd just rather cheat on the weekends and
makes it a little easier cooking.
Yeah, do something easy on the weekend. But even then, every day for breakfast and lunch and dinner, I'm getting 2 vegetables, not 2 as in like, 2 vegetables. I'm getting 2 helpings of macro.
2 types.
Yeah. Per vegetables, 3 for protein, and then 4 for starches or grains. And it's all much more planned. Like, I actually think about what, okay, if I'm having an egg sandwich, I have like 2 slices of bread. The eggs and sausages protein. I have avocado, or I have guacamole for my fat, my healthy fat, which I would have just slathered in mayonnaise in the past.
Well, that's why I brought that up, because it is. I mean, it's a lot of people away from the football field and fans that aren't as invested into this as we are. I just always like to bring that up to let the general fan know that this isn't just about lifting weights. This is getting up, and literally everything with your meals should be planned out, and it's really about body transformation, and it's a whole different lifestyle.
It is. Whenever I came in back in December, I'm not giving too much of myself away right here, but over the whole process, I gained 11 pounds, and I lost half of a body fat percentage.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and that was we obviously worked out very hard. But I'm telling you, I think a lot of that was because I was eating well, not just while I was there too, but when I was home, all the snacks that I did, I talked to the nutritionist and I actually listened to what she said. So all the snacks that I had, I wouldn't come home and eat a bag of Doritos, even though I would have given anything to do that sometimes.
Cool Ranch and nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese, 100%.
Yeah. There you go.
What's the thing about football you love the most?
I don't know. I feel like everything is to love other than losing, really. I feel like especially whenever you've got a good team chemistry, it's fun without the team chemistry. But whenever you have the team chemistry, that's whenever I feel like it's on another level of, something that just, I don't even know how to describe it unless, you've been there and done it. Whenever you, especially at offensive line, right? You get close with a group of guys, you work with them every single day at practice, you go in and watch film with them extra afterwards, you hang out with them outside of football. And then during practice, and even more so, especially during the games, I was kind of lucky in the sense that the guys that I played with my last year, we played together for a few years, like 2 or 3 years. And so we all knew each other well on the field. We worked together really well. We, would oftentimes not even have to communicate quite as much, and we still knew what we were going to do and how the other was going to block and tendencies that we had. And being able to drive the ball down the field, especially running the ball, which is 90% of what I feel like we did. And then just seeing the running back who, I love Lim. He's the running back at Chattanooga, just like busting his ass to get every yard that he can. Like, I don't know. There's just nothing better than that.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, whichever team you're going to get to now, I mean, they're going to look after the quarterback is going to try and look after the offensive line, and the offensive line is going to try and look after the quarterback. But that goes for having a guy that sort of
you do end up in Green Bay, Cole. We're going to send you pizza every other day. You can have all the pizza and beer you want, bro. We need you out of shape. You end up in
cheese curds if you end up there. So we'll feed you, just literally force feed you cheese, like waterboarding you with it. But if you end up in Chicago, then obviously it'll just be prime cuts of steak and hot dogs. Maybe the occasional hot dog is your cheat meal. Yeah. But in terms of Knoxville and sort of Tennessee and staying near home was important for you in college, and you've mentioned that again elsewhere.
Yeah.
In terms of moving, I mean, obviously Seattle has spent a lot of time for you. That's about as far away as you can get from Tennessee in the mainland. So in terms of moving, what do you anticipate as being, in terms of getting settled? Are you going to rely upon veterans to sort of give you the ropes in terms of the area and see what you can do from there? Is it going to be a wrench for you 10 months of the year, being away in a potentially different climate, different place where you don't really know the layout, and what do you think the growing pains are going to be there?
I don't know. I guess I don't really anticipate a whole bunch of growing pains. I'll miss my family. There's no doubt about that. But I think it's kind of one of those things where I'll be so focused and so locked in on what it is I need to do to get better, make sure that I know my playbook, make sure that I'm getting better, eating right, gaining muscle, getting better at the technique or whatever it is that we're learning or working on. I don't know. I feel like I won't have too much time to think about it at home. And as far as, the town or whatnot, I guess that would probably be, whenever I get on the team, like meet some of the guys, see, I guess what it is that they would do. But I don't know. I don't know exactly how much free time you have. Maybe I have the wrong idea, but I don't really see myself worrying too much about the town or what there is to do, unless, like, at least until I have myself cemented, in the program. Like as a rookie, I don't know. I've seen people get drafted and then get cut like within a couple months.
Oh, yeah.
Something that we Exos, we do a lot of interview prep. And I think it was actually somebody not through Exos, but through my agent, a fellow named Ken Herrock, a longtime GM. He's not working anywhere specifically right now, but one of the things he told us that kind of rung true with me was teams don't cut players. Players cut themselves.
Yeah.
With the exception of simply not having enough talent, everything that you do to get cut or to not get cut is your own choice.
Yep.
Like, do you show up early to meetings? Do you show up late? Whenever you come into the weight room, are you late or early? Do you work your ass off or are you lazy? Are you a smart mouth or are you respectful and kind? So I don't know. I think
here's some good advice too, Cole. When wherever you end up, is download the Waze app, for your directions and stuff, and you got to find the best donut shop because you're going to be stopping there as a rookie. You got to feed the vets on the O-line. You're going to be buying lots and lots of donuts on rookie day.
Keep them sweet.
Yeah, so you're going to want to mark that down. Whatever city you end up in, is find where the donut shops are, and you're going to be best friends with those guys for a while, especially in year one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, I know you like to read. So, what are you currently reading in terms of, downtime?
So, I'm kind of in between a few books. I was reading the last Lord of the Rings book, The Return of the King, and I had the previous two books that I read were the first two books in the series, and I was kind of wanting a little bit of a mix-up, and so it's kind of random, but I ended up, those Kindles? I got one of those for Christmas. My brother got me one of those, and so I'm able to just kind of look at any book, and a bunch of them are free if you have Amazon Prime. But I was looking up this one philosophy book by Rene Descartes. It's called The Passions of the Soul, and so I've been reading that. And then the other night, I don't know what it was in me, but one of my buddies is one of my best friends. He's in the Army. He had this book on Alvin York, and I don't know what it was. I was just like, I want to fire this little rig up. And so I started reading a little bit of that. So I'm in between those three.
Well, I mean, if you've got a Kindle and you're into some psychology books, I have a recommendation for you, and that's Thinking Fast and Slow, which is Daniel Kahneman is the author on that. But it's about when you become expert at something that you stop guessing badly, because people's propensity, generally speaking, is to make bad guesses from limited information they're not an expert in. It's like sort of having a firefighter knowing what to do instinctively because they've been in the situation many times. They have that expertise, and understanding when you're going into a new situation that you don't have the data, that's the time to slow down your thinking. So it's a really good book from that point of view. So that's a recommendation for you.
What's it called?
Do you want to, any more questions, Shane, or should you open it up to chat?
He asked you a question there, George. What was the name of the book?
Thinking Fast and Slow.
Thinking Fast.
But I'll send you a link on the for Kindle. I'll send you a link for it. So don't worry, I'll get that over to you. But it's a fantastic book. Really, really helpful in terms of it's applicable to football as it is to life.
Yeah.
In terms of understanding what you're not an expert in, and that's where you need to focus. Whereas the things, like you've already mentioned, the things where you kind of have a feel for it because you've experienced it that many times in battle-tested scenarios, that's where you can rely upon that sort of react rather than reacting with not knowing the full information and knowing what you should know and what you shouldn't. Yes, so it's good from that point of view. Any more questions, Shane?
Yeah, Cole, we everybody that we have on our network, we obviously are talking a lot about tape and the seriousness of the draft, and like we said, with your diet and stuff like that and every day, but we like to keep it light and a little bit fun too, so we do a little rapid fire session.
Okay.
iPhone or Android?
I have an iPhone.
There you go.
I would say iPhone.
All right, good man. Xbox or PlayStation?
I grew up playing Xbox more so than PlayStation. So I would say that.
You are my guy. You're 2 for 2 on my list.
You're acing it so far.
Now, I'm not trying to put you in a corner here, and I'm totally judging by this interview. I don't know your music taste, but we always ask everybody Tupac or Biggie. I'm guessing you're more of a country guy, more so than anything.
I was about to say, I don't know if I could even answer that.
Yeah, okay. So I guess
so Brad Paisley or Tim McGraw then. Go
on. I would say more so of a Tim McGraw guy, but honestly, I'm more of a rock and roll fan than anything. I like country, but more familiar with rock and roll.
Nice.
So who's your go-to in terms of listening then?
As far as a go-to, I would say Leonard Skinner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're going old school.
Classic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, we're going to put you on the spot one more time here, Cole, and this is probably something that you'll end up having to do whatever city you're in. We want you to do a station ID for us. Do you know what that is? We're going to put you up front on the screen all by yourself, and you're going to say, "Hey, what's up, NFL draft fans? My name is Cole Strange." And you can say fill in whatever you want afterwards, and you're watching Draft Mob on TTNL Network. Think you can handle that?
Okay, so it's what's up, NFL fans? This is Cole Strange.
You could say your intro can be whatever. Just tell them who you are, and
if you want to rep your high school or college or whatever you want to say about that, then that's
if you
cool.
want to sing your favorite Tim McGraw song, you could even do that.
Go for it.
Just say you're watching Draft Mob on TTNL Network. TTNL Network, yeah.
All right, this might not be so pretty.
No, hey, that's
Akeem Hicks took how many takes?
Yeah, exactly. So let's put him up there. Let me give you the countdown there, Cole.
All right. So I know I got more than one take in the
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll leave us
as
up
many as
here.
you need.
Yeah, I'll give you the 3, 2, 1, and then you can go. All right. You ready? All right. 3, 2, 1.
What's up, NFL fans? This is Cole Strange. Go Mocs. And you are watching the Draft Mob on the TTNL Network.
That'll do it.
Ace's first time, first take. Nailed it.
See, you got nothing to be scared of, man. You passed your first acting audition right there.
It's kind of funny that you said that. I was just talking to my dad and my brother. I had the weird. I don't know if we're still live or if we're still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're live.
So I had this really neat experience. I got an email from this fella who I want to say his name is Bradley Fernandez with the WWE.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, and he was asking if I had any interest in that, and I was like, since I was a kid, but I'm playing football. That's
not right now.
Yeah. He's talking to me about the process of becoming a WWE active roster wrestler. Is like we'd spend a year in Orlando working on your character, so I'd have to start like doing a whole bunch of hooting and hollering and crazy stuff.
What would Cole with a last name Strange? You could have a pretty badass wrestling name. I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what my girlfriend was telling me. She's like, it'd have to be something to do with your last name.
Right, absolutely.
We have a friend of the network. You might have heard of D'Lo Brown. Do you remember D'Lo Brown? The Nation of Domination.
Now that sounds familiar.
Yeah. He was there. He was there with The Rock, Sean the Hitman Hart, Triple H. I think was in it, and there was D'Lo Brown. So I mean, he's a friend of the network. So if you do need putting in touch, if you do become a Bear, he's going to want to be able to talk to you about not only Bears football, whatever else. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But,
right, that's cool.
It's what bit of an out of the blue communication, I guess. So
it was
anyway. Gives you an idea. So after football, what do you see yourself doing?
Going to Orlando and working on that name, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's more so one of those things of if I am in the NFL for a long time, which is what I hope happens, I haven't put much thought towards what I would do in that circumstance. But if I'm not in the NFL for a long time, something I've been considering more and more so lately is I'd probably go back to Chattanooga and I'd finish my degree. I'm in a master's in engineering management. I'm like halfway done with that. And then I have a lot of interest in the military. So I'd consider doing something along those lines.
Wow. That's impressive. Nice.
So anyone in chat got any questions for Cole or are we done?
Yeah, we can fire one up there. We did have one in there, Cole, and I know a lot of this can get little
There's
bit.
A question.
Have you talked to anybody from the Bears?
Actually,
process?
At the Senior Bowl, we met with every single team, and every single team had scouts there. And so I don't remember exactly. I actually have a collection of cards from each team, each scout that I spoke with.
Yep.
And I'm almost positive that I have. I've got a little pile across the room, but I don't remember his name exactly. But I did meet with the Bears.
No, that's great because we definitely need some offensive linemen here in Chicago, and
I'd be fired up.
That mentality that you bring is, like I said, please don't lose that, because that is something that scouts and GMs and even pro personnel people moving forward, that's going to pay off dividends for you, my man, if you can keep that mentality moving forward. What would you say, George?
There's a question there. Do you have a preference? I'm guessing you're probably going to give a nice homogenous answer, and I'll play where they put me.
You would be correct. For the most part, I don't really have a preference. Whenever I got into the Senior Bowl and they told me I was playing center, I was fired up to play center and more than ready to go and prove that I could play that as well. So I'm probably more comfortable with guard just because I played there more. But to tell you the truth, I felt pretty comfortable at center just after a week. So I
have a question that's been posed to one of your coaches, Coach Josh, and I'm interested to get your thoughts on it before I tell you what his answer was. But left guard and right guard, because he played left guard, obviously, in the NFL all the way throughout his career. So left guard to right guard. I mean, obviously, you mentioned that going into the Senior Bowl, initially that's what you were looking at, was moving over to the right. And obviously there's a lot of – it is – for those who haven't played all one side of the line and then been asked to move to the other side of the line, are you equally comfortable on both sides, or do you have a preference for left?
So I think I might have a little preference for left, but I'm going to add in something, is that I think it could be kind of positive because, and this is what they told me whenever I started playing offensive line when I got to Chattanooga, is I haven't created any bad habits for the right side. I don't know if I have any bad habits just off the top of my head for left side. But I have taken, every time I practice offensive line or practice my sets or individual drills, I normally work my right side as well. Now, going against live competition at the right side is a little bit different, but, I haven't created any bad habits. So,
all right. Well, Cole, you've been
Coach Josh said, try wiping your ass with the opposite hand.
Yeah,
exactly. That sounds like Josh for sure. Cole, you've been super generous with your time. We do have one more real quick. Do you have any game day rituals that you follow each and every day in terms of prep for game time or anything like that?
Honestly, not really. Whenever I was a little bit younger, I tried to have this set of playlists that I listened to in a specific order. Thank you. That you can't really, that I had it in this specific order, but for the most part, I don't know. It's kind of a long story, but you know how offensive linemen wear knee braces?
Oh, yeah.
At least in college. Yeah. I hated that, and I was always jealous how the defensive linemen could, come in there, put on their pants and then just walk out the door, and I had to, lace up these knee braces.
Strap up.
It was almost like a spiteful thing of, the less preparation I can do beforehand, I'm going to do it. So I thought, as far as a pregame ritual, it's I don't really believe in luck or, I know there's some of that out there, but, you make your own luck.
Hey, man, look at it this way. If you hit in the NFL and you get that big contract, you might need those knee braces to hold you and your wallet up.
Hold the wallet up. That's it. Yeah. It's a good job you're not a DB, Cole, because DBs you have to wear. The better the DB you are, the more armbands you have to have on your arm. I don't know if you've seen this. This is something they seem to do, isn't it? It's if you see a DB, he's got 6 armbands on, he's going to be a pretty good player. So, same as white shoes or black shoes. Do you have a preference for colour of boots and things like that, or is it you just wear team colours?
Oh, you mean on the field? I was about to say you're talking about boots.
Choice for on the field.
Yeah, I don't have a preference. I've heard that white shoes make you look faster, so.
I love.
So is that what you wear at the combine?
I love that Cole heard you say boots and he thought you were talking cowboy boots. That says everything, man. That's awesome. I love that. But Cole, you've been, like I said, man, we're over an hour in. We don't want to keep you. We know you gotta get to some guacamole on that egg sandwich, that good fat. Keep your stuff going forward, dude. This momentum, just keep this momentum up. Can't wait to see you in Indy. NFL draft fans, you can follow Cole at ColeStrange2. Shoot him some questions. Tell him you saw him on TTNL. Cole, we thank you so much, man, showing up on TTNL's Draft Mob to give us a little history lesson in Cole Strange, man. We enjoyed it.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, I mean, Cole, just to close off from me, thank you for accepting to come on with us. I've had an absolute hoot going through the tape with you and talking to you, getting to know you a little bit. But wish you all the very best throughout, not only combine prep but the draft. And I hope you get to wear navy and orange. But whatever team that you go on to, like we did with a previous guy that we had on, Bryson Hopkins, Super Bowl with the Rams. I just wish you every possible success going forward from this point. And I'm sure that looking at what you put on the tape and the kind of person that you've shown to be in this interview, that you're going to go on and have the success that you truly deserve. So all the best to you. We're going to be cheering for you, no doubt, when you're at the combine. And when it comes to draft day, let's hope we can get you. But yeah, as long as you're not wearing green and yellow, I'll be good.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you.
I'll have to hate you if you are wearing green and yellow. It's just that's the rules. It's just what we have to do.
That's okay.
We'll just wait for free agency then. We'll send you some cowboy
and have we'll get you then.
Chicago.
Yeah.
So, all right, Cole. Thank you so much, my man. All the best. Stay healthy. Later. Great stuff, George. Great stuff. I always like to have guys on like that. You can just feel that it matters to them. It's not about the ancillary bullshit. That's just that little back and forth. When you mentioned the boots, I saw his eyes light up. He wasn't thinking about cleats. He wasn't thinking about what J's that he wanted. He wanted to talk about cowboy boots. And this is a salt of the earth guy that those we've heard people on here, George, talk about the fabric players. That's who Cole Strange is. You need to have guys like that on your roster, 100%.
Without a doubt. I mean, the thing that's come across, you go through the tape. The tape's one thing, and you kind of get a feel for what you think you're going to hear and what you think you're going to see. But what you don't get from that is just how smart and considered and thoughtful he is. And for him to sort of come on and consider, the answers, and he must have done probably 20 or 30 of these already, and his Senior Bowl week's going to be even busier, I'm sure. Because I can't think of an offensive line room that isn't better if you get a Cole Strange in there. By virtue of the fact that he's going to, in terms of work, he's not going to shy away from it. In terms of ability, he has that in bunches. In terms of versatility, he has that in bunches. And, for him to come on and sort of show the way that he did as to the kind of guy that he is,
100%. Yeah,
I'm sold. I'm sold on him. I like him. I'm gonna.
No, I totally agree, George. And the draft process is so. This is part of what has drawn me to it forever. It always shocks me. Like, you can see this kid, and you can see that he's explosive with his power, and you can see that he's actually very, very fluid. And somebody else can watch it, and they can be like, he's really, really stiff. He's not showing much fluidity. And that's what makes the NFL draft process so intriguing. And listen, obviously you have to be an athlete. We understand that. But at the end of the day, we've heard DDP say this. We've heard Phil say this 100 times. Give me a fucking football player over top of anything. And George, that's what this Chicago lacks: elite athleticism and explosive players, but they also lack fabric football players. The guys that it's, the core of your roster.
Tone setters.
Exactly. And that, if I was to sit down and just talk to Cole one-on-one, even away from this forum, that's what I would tell him, man. That's why I kept on driving into his head, dude. Do not lose that tenacity, that
mentality. Absolutely.
Because this is what I feel like separates us, George. You did such a great job breaking down the tape there, because it's not all about just the fundamentals and doing your job. It's the little thing when you stop and you're like, you see the running back breaks free and boom, you instantly turn your head and you're looking.
Turn and go. Yeah.
That shit is so vital, because that's instinctual. That means it fucking matters. That tells me that you're not just there to do your job and fuck everything else. That's like, no, I'm looking to see where I can go make a fucking difference. If there's a cheap shot involved, I'm going to go let you fucking know that. I'm looking to see where my running back is going. You never know that one extra play. Everybody says that the NFL is a game of inches, and it absolutely is. Him turning his head and then getting downfield, you do not know what's going to happen. Maybe the running back fumbles the football and Cole's busting his ass to get down there and he hops on the ball. Those
first man on it, yeah.
Those change games, man. And you can't, that is invaluable. And that is not something that is measured well, it is measured in tape because you can see it, but that's not something that at the combine that you're going to see. But that's where, when we're grinding through the tape and looking at all these things, and this is a credit to you, George, being on this, kid, that stuff is invaluable to any team at any level.
And the thing is as well, Shane, is that I didn't really ask him because I already knew what the answer was, and it's a moot point. The reason why he's able to do that is because of his situational awareness. You know, he's someone who doesn't just fit up on the first guy and that's it, my job's over. He's seen where the safety's coming, he's seen where the linebacker's going, and he knows that his back has broken free because he's watching the far side safety. Yep. He's on his dude, he's done his job. But then he's seen the safety turn and chase. He's thinking, shit, he's got through. Yeah. And that's when I said he focused on 29, he saw him coming from the backside. And he was like, fuck me if I'm not going to try and get there and get in front of him and snot a smurf, as I said, which is, any offensive lineman's going to love an opportunity to do that. But the thing is that he's not a head down. He's a heady. Yes, he's aggressive like Trevor Penning. Yes, he's athletic like Zion Johnson. Yes, people are going to knock him on his arm length, 33 points something, I think it was. They're going to say he's got short arms. The place where he's not short is between the ears because he's you can tell already he's super coachable because he's already,
George, he was right on here with us. When you were rolling that tape and you said, I would like to see your arms out a little more extended there. I wasn't looking at you talking at that point. As soon as you said that, I looked at Cole and he was taking mental notes, just like when I was talking to him about the playing surface. And, this just shows you a lot of these guys, and Cole is included in this because he talked about it. He's not been a huge NFL guy. Because you notice when he said, "Now, dude, is there more teams than just Chicago that play on a natural surface?" You know what I mean? It's just little things like that. It just shows you not all of these guys are into professional football growing up. They're focused on their job that they're doing at hand. But you, as well as I know, George, surface is a big part of what these guys do. Yes. End of the day, you're going to be playing football, but I can remember when we had Kyle Long on, he's like, nah, man, you give me natural surface all day long. I don't care if it's muddy because all that's going to do, that's going to slow down Khalil Mack trying to get a fucking sack on me, and that's the thing. But man, that was such an impressive spot with Cole, man. Thank you so much, George, for setting that up and reaching out to him and getting him on. This is, to me...
Yeah, I mean, I love the tape, but I love the kid more now. You know what I mean? Having spoken to him, spent some time talking to him.
Going off of that, George, right there, Rick Riggs has this question that we have up there. George, what round do you think Cole will be drafted? Where are you projecting
pre-draft? I have him middle rounds because there is some work that needs to be done. But I mean, I have him anywhere from the end of 2 right the way down to sort of 5 range, because I think if you're thinking any further than that, you are, there's too much versatility, there's too much athleticism, there's too many good intangibles to worry about, is he going to be there later and to put him on your back burner. He's like I said, the room will change having him in it. Yeah. So he's someone that for me, you go and get, because in terms of what he's got on the tape, Chattanooga, they only played one SEC team, the level competition is going to be questioned. Look at the way he competed at a different spot. He's played twice at the Senior Bowl against guys who were starting on the top programs in the nation
at a different position position last minute.
Yeah, and going up against a Fedarian Mathis at Bama or whatever, a massive kid, or Travis Jones from from Connecticut, big boys, and he's handling his own. So, I think realistically, zone teams are going to look at him sort of anywhere between rounds 2 and 4. Other teams are going to see him as a developmental piece, and it'll be later. But it depends upon the scheme. For the Bears, I wouldn't worry if we moved down, picks up a couple of third-round picks, and use one of those on Cole Strange. I'd be ecstatic if we got him.
Yeah, and it's very similar to the situation last year. And I know a lot of people say that this is bullshit, but it's 100% true. After the Bears drafted Larry Borum, you heard the Bears talk about kind of what range that they had him in, and they really had Larry Borum.
Round,
yeah, they had him in the second round, and that's the thing, George. People want to say, you hear every single GM, oh, we drafted best available on our board. Well, they do. There's a comma there, and then right. It's the best area, or the best position, the best player available at a position of need, and that's what it is, and that's what. Guys like Larry Borum, guys like Cole Strange, that's what can push these guys down the board because
having him being able to play any of those 3 internal spots where we currently don't have an answer,
In this new NFL, George, versatility, and I mean, imagine, well, I don't want to bring up spoiled milk here, but if Ryan Pace and that crew was still here, that was very, very high on their list of things about offensive linemen is if you're versatile, they got pushed up the board 100%. And that's not just Ryan Pace. That's most NFL teams, because on game day with limited roster sizes, man, if you're versatile, it's a huge benefit to you.
So before we go today, the one thing I would say before we go is that Cole Strange is going to Senior Bowl. That pushed his arrow up. He's going to test well at the Senior Bowl, and I'm telling you that now.
At the combine.
So at the combine, he's going to test well at the combine. In particular, things like 40, the lateral agility drills, the 3-cone, even sort of broad jump, which shows explosiveness. The broad jump, look at those numbers. If he's anywhere near 9 feet, that's for an O-lineman, that's really good because they're big boys. In terms of the short shuttle, that's the numbers, and the 40. Bench press, as long as it's not less than 20, 22, 23, you're not worried. Again, he's got decently long arms for a guard. Over 33 preferable. Under that is less than desirable. But I think his arrow is going to point up, and you're going to hear people talking about him a lot more after the combine.
Yeah, and you want to know something that's great, George? This just shows you how things spread out quickly and the worldwide reach of TTNL Network. Do you want to know who I just got a DM from?
Who?
Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl wants a link to this. Wants a link to this show to see what Cole Strange had to say, because he's very interested. He loves to hear what the prospects say about their experience with the Senior Bowl. I just got a DM from Jim Nagy himself.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Director of the Senior Bowl. So we're gonna shoot him over this show. Like I said, we'll open this up. Obviously, if you're here, you're a TTNL patron right now, but we will open this up. I think, George, this is a great interview that we want to share with the masses. We'll open it up just a little bit later today and share it with everybody, because that's how good it was.
And if you're not a patron after you've watched this, then I don't know what's going on with you, but there you go, scrolling across the bottom. That's where you go to sign up.
Yep, and we're pushing to get to 1K patrons also. But George, probably a perfect place to wrap it up. I know you share this sentiment with me. I didn't get to see X's with the O's yesterday, so I'm not sure if Phil shared the situation there. He did. But Steph losing her grandfather, very, very impressive. 102 years old. I mean, if we could all be so lucky. Do you think about the life events that man has seen in his lifetime? Over 102 years, but Phil and Steph, the Ottochian family, and Steph's family, and I know her mom, Wendy.
Thoughts with them all.
Yeah, thoughts and much love out to you guys as you say your final goodbyes. to him today. Like I said, TTNL is all about tape analysis in football, but first and foremost, George, you know this better than anybody, that it's always about family first, and that's really what we are. That is our foundation that we build on here first and foremost. So we're going to do a little bit of that when we get off here today, George. I'm going
to go and take my son to the park.
Yeah, there you go. A little family time. But thank you, guys.
Bron is much better. Thank you for everyone that asked. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. But we'll just leave you with this from Ryan Poles before we sign off. And let's get it. Draft Mob is back.
To take over the North and never give it back.
That's right, man. Fired up. All right, guys. We'll see you. We'll have some updates. You might see this guy on a big podcast coming up maybe Tuesday night. We might have some breaking news on that pretty soon, and we'll let everybody know. But love you all, and we will see you guys next week. See ya.